I'm going to show you how to make a box that looks natural. These actually look a little warpy because the vanishing points are too close, but we're going to use this to remind us of what we learned from linear perspective, and that is that as the sides of the box go back into the distance, they're going to gradually get smaller and smaller. Now, if the box went to infinity, it would go to a vanishing point and disappear. But we don't go to infinity, and usually the vanishing points are way off the paper. That's why these are kind of warpy, because the vanishing points are too close. So we don't really use vanishing points when we're drawing a lot, but we need to know what we've learned. These two sides, when we put the ruler together, the rulers, if we put them on the top and the bottom, would have to be getting a little bit smaller. It would never get bigger as it goes in the distance. That would be a very big mistake, and your eyes would notice that that looked really weird and awkward. So when we make the box, the thing we have to remember that both on the top and on the sides, as that moves back, these two parallel lines aren't parallel anymore. They get a little bit smaller as they go in the distance. So we're going to remember what we've learned there and use that as we try to draw a box. Now, before you even start your box, the number one thing to look for is how big this top is. Sometimes the top is a parallelogram because one side is short and one side is wide. In that case, we end up with this parallelogram, kind of a parallelogram on the top, because, but notice how thick it is. This one is really thin. This one is a little bit thicker. If you're looking up and looking down, it's going to be wider. If you're looking more straight at it, then sometimes you only see a sliver of the top like this. Over here, this one, we're looking down from the top more, so it's more of a wide diamondy shape, whereas this one is more of a very thin diamondy shape. So we have to figure out what to do on that. If we want it to be a thin shape, if what you're looking at has a thin diamond or parallelogram kind of shape, then you need to make these not very tilty. If it's bigger, then this can be at a bigger angle. So I'm going to draw one about like this. I'm going to start where I want the top corner to be. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to draw here. That's where my top corner is going to be. I notice that on the long side it's fairly flat, and on the short side it's going to be a bigger diagonal. Long side flatter, short side more angled. So I'm going to, if you were looking at something, you could put your ruler up in the air and measure it. I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to say, okay, it's at that angle. I'm going to bring my ruler down, keep it right about the same angle, and make that side of the box. I'm going to draw this side of the box at an angle about this. It's a little less than 45 degrees. And I'm going to make my short side that way. Now, what to make the rest of the top of that box, if I've got this right here along this line, we need to remember that when we draw this one, it cannot be getting bigger. It has to be getting just a little smaller. Parallel wouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to make it just getting just a little bit smaller. You can see it's just a little bit smaller here than it is there. To do the other side, again, this is the angle that we started with. Remember, it cannot be getting bigger. That would be very bad. So I'm going to bring this down until it's just getting a little bit smaller. My vanishing point would be far away. So, but you can see that it's getting just a little bit smaller as it goes that way. So I will do my other corner. That's the top of my box. I'm going to look at it and decide, it still looks a little wide to me. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it down a little bit because I want it to be a thin parallelogram shape. Once I have that down, then I use vertical lines for the corners. And we're going to, again, these lines have to be getting a little bit smaller. It gets just a little bit smaller that direction. I'm going to put this up on this side here. Put this one here. Notice it's getting a little bit smaller. Maybe about like that. Not too much smaller, just a little bit. And then I have a natural looking box.